Hello, everyone, and welcome to Okcoin TV. Today we have Mitchell Cuevas from the Stacks Foundation. He's a good friend, a good colleague. We've been working really closely with them, and we're gonna let Mitchell do his intro. But before that, Sam,
We got a quick tip.
how you doing? I
I'm
haven't
doing
talked to
good.
you in a while.
I know. Well, first of all, Mandy and I were talking about not having you back because Mandy's an awesome
Oh
co-host.
man,
You know,
man, I'm just been
I
cut
can
from the
see that,
show just like
honestly.
that.
cut. But we talked about it. We thought we'd throw you a bone and invite you back.
Is this my trial episode? This is where I gotta show up or shut up kind of situation, right? This is what's happening.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
just
Okay,
be
okay.
You
a
know.
really lame guest to kind of hurt your chances here, Alex.
Well, no, it helps. Mitchell, you
It
got to be
helps. Okay.
very weak today so that I
I
look good.
see. Okay. So
Yeah.
charisma differential is what we're going for here. I got
Okay,
you.
okay. I got it. I think I got it, guys. I think I got it. Today's gonna be the day we're gonna do well. But yeah, let's do the quick tip. Sam, why don't you do the quick tip? Because clearly I want to learn from the best. So you tee up Mitchell. Mitchell do the quick tip. We'll go into his intros. Now we have a lot of good things to talk about. So I'm excited for my
Actually,
last show.
yeah. I mean, but the quick tip involves Mitchell actually. So
Yeah.
it involves all of us actually, both Mitchell and OKCoin.
Okay.
Yeah. So this week we've got a joint OKCoin Stacks NFT giveaway. It's pretty
We
cool,
do?
isn't it?
No.
Yeah.
I've heard of that. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
So
key
it's
to the
yeah.
city.
So we've got a bunch of prizes, a ton of prizes with this joint OKCoin and Stacks NFT giveaway that we're doing. We got $5,000 in Arcadico tokens. We got $5,000 in Miami Coin tokens. We got $5,000 of Wrap BTC on Stacks, and then 10K in BTC, or that's Bitcoin for all people that want to say the
That's
full word.
25K for all those people following at home.
25K, five and five. Hold on, I need more fingers.
He's already on
But
fire.
yeah, thank you for adding it up for me because I can't add today. But yeah, it's really simple. All you got to do is a few things. So follow OKCoin and Stacks on Twitter, and then the most important thing is go set up a Hero wallet, which is a non-custodial wallet for Stacks. It's actually really easy to set up. I've got one. I've been putting money into Arcadico and stacking there and doing some cool strategies. We'll fill out the form, which we're going to link down below. And you can also find the form on Twitter as well, too. And then come and join OKCoin and pass KYC too. That's pretty simple. And those are the steps that you'll have to take to enter. So yeah, that's our quick tip for the week. We got a bunch of stuff to actually talk about in this episode because we're going to be talking about NFTs on Stacks. We're going to be talking about the growth of NFTs on Stacks and also Mitchell's program Mentory, which is going to be helping NFT artists grow and learn how to make NFTs on Stacks. So Mitchell, we're going to turn things back over to you. Welcome to OKCoin Live.
Thanks for having me. Always happy to see the OKCoin crew and do things like this. So thanks so much.
Yeah.
Where should we start? Do you want to start with high level NFT stuff, Mentory stuff? Should I introduce myself?
Why don't you introduce yourself? So you're the head of growth at the Stacks Foundation. Tell us a little bit how you came to that and what you're doing there.
Yeah, I don't know how I ended up here actually. Just sort of. No, okay. So as you may know, this is a good question.
Manib stalked you on Twitter and one day just like showed up at your house and was like, "You're coming to work for me."
So back in the day, Blockstack PBC, actually right before the big event that maybe some of you out there in the community went to in Germany, invited me to the team. They said, "Hey, I came from Startup Weekend, Techstars, which is a great global community of entrepreneurs." And with these protocols, a lot of what sets them apart are the communities. And so they are bringing on folks like me and others to really focus there. And so it was like 4 years ago now, actually. So that event in Germany was like my first sort of welcome to the whole shebang, and fell in love with the team there, decided to join full time, and been working on marketing, growth, partnerships, and things all along the way. And then about a year ago, as the ecosystem continued to decentralize, I went over to the Stacks Foundation, where I'm at now as head of growth, and focus on many different things. I have an awesome team, lovely broad role right now, leaning a lot into NFTs for obvious reasons, and partners like Okcoin and others that have integrated stacks and work with all kinds of nifty projects like City Coins and Arcadico and Alex. So yeah, that's the short version. But 4 years in crypto, I guess that's like makes me old, I think.
And well, we're all new to the NFT marketplace, so with 1 year's experience, either publishing NFTs or trading them, you
That's
can be
true.
a subject matter expert, which is pretty crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
So that's cool. So tell us about how the NFT marketplace and ecosystem is growing on Stacks right now.
Yeah, it feels like it's growing too fast to keep up with. It's a bit overwhelming, which I think is a nice problem to have. The community around the NFTs and stacks is quite something. They're very supportive of each other, even among the marketplaces, which sort of in other ecosystems I've seen emerge as more direct competitors. Very supportive. We all recognize we're very early. Some top level stats that I have handy. I think in about October we were doing 2 million in daily transacted volume, and today it's about 14 million. So growing really quickly. I think that puts us in the top 12. We still have a long way to go, but early in the ecosystem, and some exciting projects are coming along. More so than probably trading volume for me. What I'm getting excited about is I have a peek ahead at sort of what folks are building, and I think this isn't a knock on any other NFTs that have come out so far, but it's early on, right? And so naturally, we're going to see more and more exciting things come with NFTs, more utility, more unique ways that folks are finding to engage their audience. And so peeking around the corner, I'm excited for some of those. If you haven't checked out Stacks NFTs yet, for those of you out there, stxnft.com is a great marketplace. They just did a full redesign, very easy to kind of find different collections. Megapont, Satoshables, some of these are sort of our, quote, blue chip projects. But yeah, it's growing fast. We're trying to make sure we in the network and everything else keeps up with them, gives them all the support they need. But the angle of Bitcoin has proven to be very attractive overall. So
what's the can you talk about like some of the NFTs on Stacks? Like, is there anything that makes them different?
mm-hmm.
And you mentioned a couple of the projects so far.
Yeah.
Like what's been the highest selling NFT on Stacks so far?
Yeah, so I think Megapont still holds the crown. Sorry, y'all, if I got that wrong. Megapont is this really immersive world, different types of apes and things. They're building out all kinds of utility. They have a robot factory, and you're starting to see now, holding apes gets you into different things within the community and access to. I think they have discounts going for different things and stuff. So Megapont's one that's pretty popular. There's a project called Satoshables, I think, is up there somewhere as well. At least in terms of what I see a lot of. They're a project that actually originated on Ethereum, but the project is kind of designed to honor Satoshi, and so they wanted to come home. And so the Satoshables, they're bridging Ethereum to Bitcoin, which is really cool. So holders kind of get the best of both worlds there. They can decide to keep their Satoshable on either the Stacks chain, which settles to Bitcoin, or keep it on Ethereum, use Ethereum marketplaces. That is some fun stuff that's been happening. What else did you ask me? There's another question in there that I think
I'm taking a look at Bitcoin birds over here. I went to STX.
How could I forget?
The birds.
Dude, I'm jealous. I could not get my hands on one of those birds. They were gone too fast, and now the floor is too rich for my blood. So good for everyone who got in there.
Let's see. Wow, well, these birds go for about $1,000, 1,000 STX, which is what, depending on the price, but about $2,000 is the floor for these birds.
Wow.
So, some of them are, some of them are steep. The cool birds. Wow. I'm just going through. Wow. Some of these are going for what? 10,000, 15,000. Wow. 100,000 stacks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. I'm going to need a raise. This is my last show, calling out to everyone. You just need a raise to buy some Bitcoin birds on the stacksnft.com marketplace.
Yep. Yep. I'm right there with you, Alex. I buy all the ones that I can support. I hold Bitcoin monkeys, which I love. Crash punks. I've got stackulants, where I think my first my own personal first stacks NFT. They're just about the cutest things you can find. So snag yourself one of those if you can't find a bird.
I like how
The
there's a
bird's
thing
also good
called.
to good cause. That's the other thing, is that there's a few projects coming soon and that are out even already, that Bitcoin Birds is a great example of, where the creators have focused on making sure there's a real world outcome, some social good component. I really love
Mhm.
those. I think we're going to talk about the Minchery later, but the Minchery is going to be leaning into those types of projects as well, where it's not just, hey, like, I want to get rich off making NFTs. There's some other great outcome that's being generated.
Yeah, this is very cool. Sorry, before we go on to deeper questions for the noobs like
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm looking at these phases, not faces, but phases of
Mm-hmm.
Satoshi.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I guess it's kind of interesting to see the prices based on different face types. And because they're all, if you guys go to stxnft.com, and you go to phases of Satoshi, uh, they go from as high as 7 million stacks, or 8 million stacks, which, okay, that might be a little pricey, to the floor of about 300 stacks. But yeah, it's interesting. They're all fairly similar, just kind of based on your liking of what you think Satoshi look like. But the price range is huge, and you have
Mm-hmm.
wallets holding these things. But it's kind of cool because it's more realistic drawing of who Satoshi was versus the apes, the birds, which are obviously
Mm-hmm.
more meme like, or kind of culture
Mm-hmm.
like. But man, maybe this is my time to get some NFTs.
Yeah,
This is the time.
I think it is. It's probably only going up. But you bring up PFPs, and I think they've been great. Like, those move culture forward, especially in the Stacks community. That's been something that folks have been able to rally around, and so I think those will always be probably a staple of NFTs. But I'm also really excited about the evolution of that. Like, maybe PFP, it's still a PFP collection, but you're adding value, adding things that it opens up for you over time. Personally, though, I've been gravitating toward projects that are a little less focused on that. I'm working with the application. Some folks have already reached out and sort of wanted to know how to get started. They're trying everything from, how could I create an NFT that, um, I've got a community of musicians, and say the community wants to see two of us collaborate, right? Could we make a STEM and a serum type NFT, where if the community combines those two NFTs, we'll commit to make a remix of each other's songs, or really cool things like that, where creators are finding ways to make NFTs a tool for their community, not only to develop a deeper relationship with the artists themselves, but among each other, like finding new ways to cooperate towards something that they want. So that's really cool too.
Yeah. So is there any way that the stacking function has been integrated into any of these NFTs?
Yes, and for everyone, I did not tell him to ask this question, but I'm so glad you did. I think you mentioned earlier, what are some of the reasons folks are coming to Stacks NFTs, Bitcoin NFTs, versus other platforms, and consistently, like, stacking is among those reasons. So one of the things you can really do that's very interesting on our network is, because of proof of transfer, for noobs and for those out there that haven't heard of this. Proof of transfer is Stacks consensus mechanism. It's what binds the Stacks chain to the Bitcoin chain. You could read more about this, but I won't go into the weeds. What's cool about this is it provides a native Bitcoin yield as a result of the mining mechanism and the stacking mechanism for folks helping to secure the chain. Okcoin users, this is really easy for you. I'll give you the plug, Alex. Sign up for an account, do the KYC2 stuff that we just talked about. You go right in there, you click a button, and you're stacking and you're earning Bitcoin. Anyway, you can take that same mechanism and bind it to NFTs. So you can create NFTs that generate a yield. Boomboxes is a really good example of this. They've done sort of a basic implementation of this, and I know they have plans for more. There's a game that we're working with. I can't say too much more. Big name game, very exciting. They are going to be using sort of the yield mechanism. So holders of different NFTs are entitled to a different level of yield from the stacking function. So holding an NFT effectively earns you Bitcoin yield, which is pretty neat.
I think I met this game. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but there's an artist that I follow, this techno artist called 10 Walls. He's doing the sound for it, isn't he? Are we talking about the same thing there?
We're not.
Okay.
I don't think so. Well,
okay.
Unless you know something I don't, but
no, this is
cool
like a third person. This is like a third person game that I saw.
Okay.
It was actually. I mean, it's not like, so you're talking about something which may not have been announced yet. These guys have already announced that they're building it for stacks, and they'll be like NFTs.
Okay. I see. This is what I mean. It's I'm in this every day, and there are projects that are coming out of this that I haven't heard of yet. That's sort of how fast things are growing. I'm gonna go look them up. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
You know what I always wanted to, I don't know if this actually happens on stacks, but wouldn't it be cool, Sam, to your earlier point about, or maybe Mitchell, I forgot, combining the different, NFTs across different platforms or different types of NFTs to create an NFT, let's say like a piece of music, right, that you own a certain beat, and then license that NFT out. I mean, essentially, like right now, it's all, this is like Web 1. This is before Web 1. This is, we're like on web pages with that fire thing at the bottom and that at symbol spinning where you can click and go, if some young people probably don't even know this. I'm just aging myself. But there was a place called GeoCities, and they would create websites for you. And they would have a counter at the bottom of how many visitors you came. And you were really cool if you added a spinning at logo. When you clicked on it, you got to email the person of the website. I mean, this is before like iframes, before Web 2, before, forget Web 3 and apps. So this is like phase, 0.1 of NFTs. But later on, where I think, this can go is where you really have digital creative rights, and you can lend out those digital creative rights where you say, okay, let's take music. You're an artist, you record a certain beat, right? And you can take that beat, and when people sample your beat or use it in their songs, you essentially get royalties for that beat or that piece. And you can do the same thing with art. Let's say, the infamous Windows, I think XP background to that rolling green meadow. Somebody took a photo of that rolling green meadow, and that person is pretty wealthy because they, Microsoft is obviously paying them royalties on every Windows that went out. They were using that photo. So, I don't know, Mitchell, it's definitely going there, but are we too early? Do you guys have this? Do you envision this happening of, being able to push this down and bring royalties back for people that own these NFTs?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. I think it's for different industries, the transition process looks different, and it's going to take longer in some areas than others. I think already there are a few. I can't remember the name off the top, but there are platforms where you can submit photos for royalties that are crypto, blockchain, NFT based. One of the ones we've been talking about with some of the musicians that have applied to the Mint Tree is like a Splice. So splice.com is a sample library. Essentially, you pay per month and you can get access to any of the sounds you want to use in your production. That seems like a natural fit, right? Where it can all be managed trustlessly through smart contracts, and you don't necessarily need a marketplace that's taking a huge cut. Now, Splice has a good reputation among artists, so I think that they don't need to go away for this to be successful. But music is also just wildly complicated as far as royalties and all that. So I think that industry might take a little bit longer than maybe some others, where you could replace like a stock photo site largely overnight if you built up an awareness for it. You mentioned something else too.
I would say that like lawyers are not going to make it easier for them to not do their jobs, right? And we can talk about all these things about licensing and stuff, but at the end of the day, there's always going to have to be a lawyer involved, and you may code it, but it's still going to have to go through legal processes. And so, like, I've heard the arguments for licensing over the years, but most lawyers that I talk to are like, it's not going to simplify anything. Like we still have to do our jobs, and since the bulk of all of this is just it's legal work, it's not actual technical work or any sort of development work that needs to be done. I wouldn't expect too many changes there.
Yeah. I agree that I don't know it'll necessarily simplify anything. I think what we're hoping for is that the value flow, particularly with royalties in, say, the music industry, become quote more fair to the creator. That's what I'd love to see. It's so complex that there's a lot of folks believe there's waste in the system. Copyright in general is really complicated. Like, I don't know if you guys saw this story, but um, someone bought an NFT. Well, the Dune book was really sad, right? The DAO bought a book, thought they were getting the copyright, they weren't. That was sort of an obvious blunder. There was another where a owner of a PFP collection, I don't believe it was Bored Apes, but another one like that. They went and they used their PFP in interest of business, and now they're getting sued by the creator of the NFT project, saying you own the NFT, but you actually don't have any rights to use its likeness for anything, which was very surprising to me. There was a great article about this. I'll have to send your way, but with NFTs, you just have this assumption like this is provable ownership on the blockchain, but that doesn't necessarily, to your point, route around existing copyright law. So it's a messy one.
Yeah. I mean, coming back to the Stacks marketplace for NFTs. I know you don't have to comment on this, but the third most traded NFT collection is the Stacks Punks, and I'm guessing that is not. Well, I don't know, but I'm guessing it's not licensed from Larva Labs for trading, right? Most people, but then again, most people just take the punks. There's a punks on every chain, right? There's a BSC punks, there's a Stacks punks, there's a Solana punks. It's just one of those ones that because of it being first, like it's copied everywhere else. But
totally.
I do see that it's not verified, so maybe that's just kind of the tip of the hat for them.
I'm not sure. Not my area of expertise, but you do see that like the popular types of NFTs make their way to every single network eventually, and
but it's interesting. It's good that there is the growth that you're seeing there. One of the things that you've been working with is the mentoring. I was reading the site for that. Maybe you could tell us more about what you're doing there to help NFT artists.
Yeah, absolutely. So like big picture, I just felt like there are tons of great programs. The Stacks Accelerator is an example, but system wide throughout crypto, there are a ton of great programs for technologists, developers, folks who are kind of already in the know around crypto. And I think that's great. Like none of that should go away. We should continue growing that. But in speaking with some musicians, artists, there just seems to be it's hard to get in because what you see a lot of is you're just a regular person. You're like, I keep hearing about this NFT thing. It seems like it might be promising for me. What you end up finding is a lot of very pointed content, right? Like every project has an incentive to get you on their chain, and it totally makes sense. I'm doing the same thing. I totally get it. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I wanted to create was a place that really gave people the tools to thrive in Web3, regardless of the chain that they end up choosing. Now, the mentoring program, obviously, like we take them through Stacks because those are the technology partners that I have on hand. That's the best way I can help them. But the core material that they're going to be moving through, they'll be able to use that wherever they end up in, hopefully in their careers and in their future. What Web3 is this big paradigm shift for creators, I hope. And they need to be prepared. They need to be given information that's not super biased, that can be widely usable regardless of the network that they end up filtering to for whatever reason that fits them. And so the mentoring sort of answers this disconnect for me, right? Where, hey, I'm an artist. I'm really interested in getting involved. I don't know where to start, and I don't know who to trust. There's so much information flying around. It feels overwhelming to me. And so sort of borrowing from an accelerator model, the mentoring is a 30-day program. It's divided into 4 weeks. We invite them in. It's all very mentorship driven. They come in starting at absolute zero if they like, and we'll take them through that 4 weeks to everything they need to mint a successful collection. A lot of this is really, marketing, community development, helping them conceptualize their products. We've got folks from some of the bigger names in NFTs. We've got managers, we've got museum curators, a really eclectic group of people who can kind of help them reflect on their collections and get it to where it needs to be. And I don't expect all of them to launch right at the end of 4 weeks, but soon after we'll start to see that. I think the other thing I've mentioned real quick too is the way I'm sort of positioning the program differently is it's for artists and by artists. So we actually just hired a woman named Nina Kong Surtees, and Ileana Malacrino is our NFT resident here at Stacks. They're both from the art world, and really having that perspective anchor the program all the way up to the leadership of the program was really important to me, because I want this to stay really tightly for artists. Right? There's enough for everyone else. So I'm really excited about that. We closed applications last night. We didn't promote it too heavily. We have 155 applications that came in, so really looking forward to the projects that are in there.
How many spots will be filled?
Just 10.
Oh wow!
So yeah, we're making a pretty significant investment in the teams, both in terms of time, and we're giving them some funding to kind of make this, it's a risky decision. Like if you rewind yourself out of crypto and you're like, oh, I'm an artist, I do this, jumping into this new world, you're going to spend all this time, maybe some money to try to do this. It feels very risky a lot of times. And so the Mintry, anyone who's accepted is given $15K sort of working capital on their projects. They can focus on it full time, offset some of that risk, and then really dive in. Because what we've seen with every project on Stacks is they're going to more than make that up as they go through. So just kind of make it easy for them.
Yeah, what's the pitch to the artists? So look, they can go on Stacks, they can mint NFTs in Solana, and so on. So what's the pitch, and what's the I wish I had, if you had a wish list, what would it be?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I can tell you, of the folks I've talked to, why they're coming to Stacks is a sort of a way to answer that question. One is, a lot of the folks do have an affinity toward Bitcoin. It's the most held asset, right? It's something people are generally comfortable with. It's associated with security. It's provably, it's the most robust blockchain that we have. It's battle tested over 10 plus years. So the idea of putting something precious on the Bitcoin blockchain resonates with a lot of people. The other is gas fees, right? So the Stacks network is very cheap compared to Ethereum in order to mint NFTs, allow people for purchasing. And for artists, it's not just the fact that it's cheap, which is nice. It's that keeps their collections accessible, right? Some of the musicians I'm talking to, they have fans who are very, very young, and trying to, add a $40 gas fee on an NFT that's $10, it's pricing a ton of people out just on gas fees that are going to the network. So that's been another big one. The engagement as well. So I mentioned the community around Stacks NFTs earlier. It's you kind of have this opportunity to be a bigger fish in a growing but still smaller pond. So the engagement with each of these collections, there's just less noise, high signal, low noise, and sustainability. This is probably the number one thing, actually. So, there's a nuanced argument around Bitcoin and sustainability and all that, which we probably don't have time to get into today. Regardless of where you fall on that side, one of the things that's really unique about Stacks is that through proof of transfer, we recycle electricity that's already spent. And so any activity you're doing to create an NFT on Stacks isn't burning any more electricity, isn't creating any more environmental impact. It's actually creating less than Ethereum or some other chains because it's recycled energy that's already spent. So that's been a big one for a lot of the folks that I've talked to, of like, why Stacks? Now my wish list is long.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So I think the creators probably would all agree with me on this, is that, the Stacks chain has made significant improvements in terms of the speed, but we want to see it be even faster. So that's probably number one. There's some exciting developments there with how do we scale and give people different options for trade-offs, but still ultimately wrap back to that settlement on Bitcoin. So those things are coming in the next 6 months, which will be huge. And then I also think, completely fulfilling on the promise of what a Bitcoin NFT is. Right now, it's fairly difficult to actually purchase the purchase the NFTs with Bitcoin. That's something a lot of the marketplaces will be implementing soon. So you have this experience where you have an NFT that's built on Stacks, it's settled to Bitcoin, and for a Bitcoin holder, you don't necessarily ever have to move into Stacks if you don't want to, right? This will make the maximalists happy potentially. They can hold NFTs and never have to touch another
Everyone's
coin,
happy.
never get their hands dirty. Everyone's happy. So that those are kind of the two big ones. There's some other smaller ones, but it's happening fast, and yeah.
The only
We should
argument
have a message for the Bitcoin maxis out there. Dear Bitcoin maxis, we're all on the same team.
yeah,
Please
We
remember
are.
that.
the
Stacks
All
only
on the
just
same
makes
team.
Bitcoin more relevant in more places. That's all it does.
Exactly.
the only reason that I could see like Bitcoin not being used as a settlement layer is that like because of the unit bias. So you look at Ethereum, and the most liquidity for NFTs occurs around the 1 ETH price point. So that first whole number allows people to kind of reference, oh hey, like either 1 or 10 are the big liquidity zones. But if you're going to be settling in Bitcoin,
Yeah.
okay, so $1,000. Hold on, wait, what's Bitcoin at today? It's 38. Okay, so let's just take a $1,000 NFT, right? You're talking about 0.0003 BTC, which is a little bit hard to reference. But if you do it in Stacks, and Stacks has a better unit price, you can easily say, okay, well, Stacks. I know Stacks is either somewhere between like 1 or 2, where it's been for the past couple of months. Like I know that if I'm buying a Stacks NFT, I immediately have the Stacks price in my head, so I can easily convert. I don't have to. I like going from 0.003456 back to dollars is harder than going from like 20 stacks or 50 stacks or something. You can quickly do the math and get back. So, well, I think that I think that it may be interesting for people to actually like buy with, maybe like the wrap Bitcoin on Stacks. I think just because of the math and the unit bias, it'll make it hard.
So I don't disagree with you. I think I always find myself struggling to do those calculations. A lot of marketplaces do though is they just price in dollars and then allow you to transact in whatever currency you'd like, and that's more how I imagine it happening. Is like you can kind of see the dollar value, and then for folks who never want to touch Stacks for whatever reason, they want to check out in Bitcoin. That's really all I'm.
Well, I don't agree with that. So coming from ETH, I know that most NFT investors price in the base currency, which would be ETH. So like if they buy something for 5 ETH, the price of ETH may go down 30%, but now they can sell for 7 ETH. It's a win for them because their only focus is to get more of that base currency at the end of the day. So the dollar amount, while it may be interesting for taxes at the end of the year, is not something that gives the reference price of people saying like, oh, we're in a good market or bad market. Because if you're trading and you're getting more of your base currency at the end of the day, that's a win regardless of the price. And a lot of these people just, like the Bitcoiners think like 1 Bitcoin is 1 Bitcoin, right? It doesn't really matter where you acquire that Bitcoin. If you go from, if you buy some NFTs and you go from 1 Bitcoin to 2 Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin may have gone down 50% from the highs, it's still a win because at the end of the day, you're just trying to accumulate more Bitcoin.
Yeah. I agree with you for the person who is like trying to use NFTs as an investment or maybe flip them. But for like the average consumer, they just want to know how much, like the average Joe who's like buying these collections from these artists and is just like supporting the project. Even OpenSea, right? If you look at OpenSea, they're priced in ETH like at the top level, but like in parentheses, they have the dollar amount. So I think for consumers, like that dollar amount's going to be relevant for a long time. But either way, sort of like the BTC checkout thing is more something that we've heard of completing this cycle of like, hey, if you're going to claim it's a Bitcoin NFT, it needs to do all of these things. One of which is if I want to, I need to be able to check out using just Bitcoin because I don't want to hold X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear you. It's an interesting psychology. Are you a Sats or a Bits guy then? Does that help at all?
I wouldn't even do in Sats or Bits. Like if I was going to do it, if you could create, so because Bitcoin is Bitcoin you can create any sort of wrapped, and you already have a wrapped Bitcoin, which goes 1-to-1. But let's say that dollar amount is what, 4 zeros. So it's like 00004 or 3 or something like that, where it's at right now. You could create a new wrapped Bitcoin primitive that brings that up to just like 3. So it's like three of whatever these are equal $1. And it wouldn't really have a reference. The only reference price would be like where the 0 is in reference to how much Bitcoin is, not like going, because I think going to Satoshis is too far, because now you have to think in like 100,000. People don't think in 100,000s, right? So 100,000 is hard already. Like, I have to spend 180,000 Satoshis on this NFT, versus you could have 1.86.
Plus bigger number, right? It's sticker shock, even if it's a smaller,
Yeah. And unit bias is real. Like, I don't care what the Bitcoin maxis say at the end of the day. Like, re-referencing the price of BTC, like adding a few more zeros on and bringing the reference price. So if they turn the Bitcoin price from 38,000 down to like $3.08, like, unit price is real, and it would probably help at the end of the day. Like, Google did a stock split on just yesterday, and their the price went up by 7%, coupled with good earnings. But Tesla did their stock split, their 7-to-1 stock split a couple of months back, and the price went up 20% within a month. So these unit bias things, people really care about it, and sometimes they'll look at Bitcoin and say like, oh, it's too expensive, I can't buy one. If you just rebased it to 21 trillion, we'd fix all of our issues with unit price.
It's an interesting thing for marketplaces. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love for some marketplaces to maybe experiment with some of those things, because I think you're right. There's definitely a psychology there to see, experiment with. I mean, I know I did it to myself where, when the stocks price was above $2, and I still was mentally, it was at around $1 for so long that that's sort of the embedded price in my head. And I was like, wow, I spent twice as much on that NFT than I actually meant to, but still happy I got it, but got to remind myself next time.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's some interesting things that you could do on Stacks, like just to try it out, because like, because the ETH primitives, like everything trades around 1. I think there's some, like, you could just make a new primitive where you just wrap BTC, or what is it called? It's XBTC. You just take XBTC and wrap it, and now like you fix your unit bias issue.
Yeah, the unit bias is a thing, I think, for people. But yeah, I think I like the stacks. The Satoshi mode, look, we have it on Okcoin. We're big bulls of it. I'm a believer of it. I don't think it's quite ready for prime time overall as a market. And what I mean by that is eventually, right, when Bitcoin's volatility lowers, and it will lower, it will decrease, then we can price things in Satoshis. But right now it's a bit of hopium, right? It's like saying, hey, when Bitcoin hits 1 million, I'm sure it will one day hit 1 million, but that day is not now. And in order to get serious adoption for Bitcoin, and this is what I think a lot of maxis miss, right? And this is why I'm such a big believer in the Stacks ecosystem, and I'm such a big Stacks bull, is that it's okay to hold Bitcoin as property, right? This is the Saylor of the world, the Bukele of the world, and so on. But what makes things exciting, very few people other than the best investors in the world or the smart money, want to hold on to an asset, the granite block of New York City, for 150 years, and then say, oh, in 150 years, it would have 1,000,000x from now, or whatever it is. That's true, but that's not fun. We live in a world where YouTube has taken over as the primary or secondary TV for the younger generations. Why? Because they're quick hits, right? We're in a dopamine-driven world. So thinking out a year from now is too long, let alone 10 or 15 years, even though that's the right move. And so why is Ethereum, I think, popular? You have all these airdrops, and you have earn, you have high yields, and people are trying to experiment with different things to accrue value to the bottom layer. And Bitcoin, by the way, hasn't really seen a value accrual to the bottom layer other than with Stacks. Stacks is the first layer two or layer one or whatever you want to call it, that actually accrues value down to Bitcoin, that has rewards in Bitcoin, that has things building on Stacks, or like a city coins, and then things building on city coins
Mhm.
that accrues value to city coins, that accrues value to Stacks, that accrues value to Bitcoin. So because of Stacks and because of these other projects, you're able to do double, triple, quadruple layering and stacking effects of various cryptos and ultimately get rewards back in Bitcoin. And like how maxis don't see this is just beyond me. It's just completely beyond me. It's living in an alternate universe of where you kind of have to cater to your audience, and the audience of the world are people who who are living. It's the same thing. I'm going to go on a little bit of a soapbox for the maxis out there, but the whole promise of Bitcoin. Here we go, Alex.
What's going on Twitter?
Hey, Mitchell, this is my make it or break it episode. I got to make it here.
Yeah, hey.
This is my audition. Timestamp 41 minutes. Here we go. So no, my whole thing is like we're trying to help people globally. That's a promise of Bitcoin, right? There's a promise of securing wealth, and I'll come back to NFTs. That has a lot of relevance to NFTs. That single mother in Africa, or that poor family that's has their wealth inflated in Venezuela, isn't thinking 5 years from now. They're thinking, how will I get bread on my table tomorrow? And so the time frames of Bitcoin maxis, which are long and true from an investment perspective, are very different than time frames of regular people who are in it for fun and coincidentally in it to survive. And so the people who, when you shrink the time frames and that brings in high volatility, the only thing that kind of saves and brings Bitcoin back to people's wallets, or to people's crypto wallets, are things like Stacks, are NFTs that can hold some sort of value, and you can exchange them and trade them the following day. And then again, I stack them and accrue benefits down to Bitcoin. So I love what you guys are doing, and I think Stacks is going to be the key, ultimately the catalyst to unlock a lot of value on top of Bitcoin, other than just hold it and close your eyes, hold it, and watch it appreciate 200% year over year over the course of 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And rant over.
No,
Cut
and
it, ship it.
you make great points. Like really, I'll just let that stand. I think that obviously, I've agreed with a lot of what you're saying, and Stacks has taken these positions to accomplish that. I mean, it really just Bitcoin was always a culture and a community of innovation. Right? That's how it started. Like a very innovative group of people, or person, whatever you believe about Satoshi. And somewhere along the way, like I think maybe some of that culture has been lost. But if you look in the Stacks community, that's coming back, in that culture, that attitude of innovating and trying to make a really amazing platform that's good at a number of key things that are core to decentralization, security, and personal ownership, and extending that to make it accessible to these other areas of our lives. That's what Stacks does, and I don't get the criticism either. I think we don't care anymore. That to put it bluntly, right? It's great if maxis want to come join us, but we've talked to them enough. And honestly, I'll make a bold claim here. This is something similar to what Manib, the founder of Stacks, has said in the past, that I'd put us, if not number one, very, very close to, in terms of the Stacks community being the number one driver of culture around Bitcoin. Like if you look at the NFTs, even those NFTs are capturing Bitcoin culture. And so we don't have to argue. We can just say, hey, we're doing something new and different. If you want to be a part of it, we're doing it on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's trustless, and it doesn't need your permission, maxis. We're rolling on. Yeah.
I just thought of one thing about the payments for NFTs and other services on Stacks. Will it be possible to integrate Lightning at some point?
Yeah, actually, so that's underway. Big fans of Lightning. We've had Elizabeth Stark out at many events, and there's a swap that's already live. I believe STX NFT is, if it's not in the consumer-facing version right now, they're testing it. So there's all kinds of stuff that it's planned with Lightning. There's a grant out for a bridge as well. So certainly,
because that'll be helpful to have essentially instant transactions for
Yeah.
for NFTs or anything really that runs on Stacks, because then
100%.
if you have I know a lot of people have Okcoin accounts here, like me and you, but you could generate a Lightning invoice and then drop that into your Okcoin withdrawal account and then just immediately pay for stuff, or your non-custodial wallet, and have that instant Lightning payment that is just works perfectly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be great to have. I'll be excited for that when it comes around.
Yeah, very soon, probably before the native BTC, but very, very soon. This stuff is happening fast. You're right on with those kinds of things. Anything that just makes it easier for regular folks. That's where I get excited, because I think, it's hard to know exact numbers, right? Like, these wallets aren't KYC necessarily, but it would seem that a vast majority of the NFTs are held by pretty crypto native folks. The next push, I hope, is a wave of NFT collections that are really owned by regular people that are following these artists, these creators that they care about. So the easier you can make that, like our wallet boiled down to a Chrome extension that you have to install, very simple, Lightning, or even credit cards, right? That's converting things on the back end. Whatever you can do to make it accessible to get people over that hump into crypto, is wonderful. And that's actually why I'm such a big fan of Okcoin. You guys have put a lot of time and energy into making that hurdle less of one, right? Getting people into just getting started, because it's a rabbit hole people naturally fall in. The more they learn, the deeper it takes them. But if they can't get over that hump, it's tough. So
yeah. Well, speaking of wallets, let's come back to our quick tip of the day. You can enter our sweepstakes by following Okcoin and Stacks on Twitter, and then going and downloading the Hero wallet. And then we'll have a form that will be linked to in the show notes here. You can also find it on Twitter as well too. And then perform KYC on Coin Exchange, and you'll be entered. And then once you have the Hero wallet, you can withdraw natively from Okcoin to your Hero wallet address, and then use that for either buying NFTs or going to make some dollars with Arcadico, or any of the other protocols that are out there with Stacks. So definitely go check it out. I've got a Hero wallet. I think it's pretty cool. It's actually really easy to use and really easy to install. It's just a Chrome extension, like you were saying. I like it a lot, and I've used it with Arcadico. That's my just testing around there. I'll be excited. Once I can make faster transactions with Stacks. That's the
absolutely. We all will be.
Yeah, I know. So we're going to come to the last portion of the show, the Alpha 5, where you're going to be put on the hot seat, and we're going to ask you a few questions.
Sounds good. Alex, you hear that? This is the end run here.
I know, this is it. This is my last 30 seconds. Please just elongate your 5, the answers to Sam's questions. I want to stay on, enjoy my time in the spotlight. But I'll remember these memories fondly.
All right, so let's go number 1. Where's the most alpha, Twitter, Telegram, or Discord?
For me, it's I'll go with Discord.
All right, and do you have any channels that you want to shout out on Discord?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously the Stacks Discord, there's always a lot of interesting nuggets around there. So for me, I think that's probably why it's the most relevant to my day to day. Moonray Games is a fun Discord. The Megapont Discord is, I think, bigger than ours, and there's so much fun stuff happening there all the time. CrashPunks does some innovative things with their Discord. These are all NFT projects. We're talking about NFTs today, but Arcadico as well. You can kind of get a window into how they're running the DAO aspects of things through Discord. So yeah, great channels to follow along and kind of know what's happening ahead of time. All
right, let's go on to number 2. A family member comes to you and wants to give you some money to invest into crypto. What do you buy for them?
I hope so.
Mitchell, be very careful. Mitchell, be very careful how you answer this one.
Yeah. So I can say what I tell everyone is,
Solana. Oh, okay, that's nice.
Everyone has like a different risk profile, obviously. So my default answer for everyone, I think, regardless of whatever they're, if they want to risk more, I could take them in that direction. As a first step, what I always say is just start dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. I know that's a boring answer. Shout out to the team at Roundly X, by the way. It's basically like acorns for Bitcoin and for other cryptocurrencies. So if you're just looking to get started and you want to like dip your toe, that's a great way to do it, right? You don't have to worry about the market. You just decide what you want to put away on a steady basis, and you can't lose with Bitcoin. No.
All right. So what about non-crypto? It's question number 3. What about non-crypto stuff? Like, what do you do?
Nothing. No.
Actually, we get that answer a lot. You're not if this is your actual answer. That's the first one.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a very consuming field, but I think what's great about it is that it can lead you into any area of passion for yourself. Right now, for me, that's happening, which is exciting. It's leading me into like the art and music world and the intersection of those two things, and I get a lot of fulfillment out of helping founders, artists, creators find new tools to kind of pursue what they're passionate about and make more money doing it. So I spend a lot of my free time on that. But otherwise, I love Ghost. It's a gym here in New York. I'll give them a shout out. They've kind of a different take. So I like to stay healthy. It's kind of like cheap therapy, right? You go to the gym every day, get away from your computer, listen to some music. But yeah, this is a theme, right? I keep coming back to music. If I can just spend a day alone doing nothing, I've probably got these exact headphones on and I'm jamming to something funky or bassy or fun. And for Christmas, I don't know if you can see it back here. For Christmas, I bought myself a controller. So I'm trying to learn to mix. I've been trying to teach myself Ableton for a couple of years. So definitely oriented on the music side of things in my free time.
The Mitchell NFT music NFTs coming out March 2022.
I have a long way to go before anyone wants to listen to anything I'm making, but it's good to force yourself to learn new things.
All right. Number 4, what's the worst piece of advice you could give someone getting into crypto?
Oh, I could have fun with this one, but the worst piece of advice. I'd say like the worst piece of advice is to mindlessly browse Twitter and make any decisions based on the information you're getting there. Everyone on Twitter is either fake or okay, not everyone, but you know what I'm saying, or incentivized for a very specific purpose. And so you need to be very judicious about the information you're taking in. And if you're moving significant amounts of money around, right, don't do it based on a tweet. Dig deeper. I hope that's obvious, but it doesn't seem to be always.
And last one. Where can people find you and more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so I would follow at Stacks on Twitter. I know I just said Twitter. So you can trust us, though, of course. I'm on Twitter as well. I tweet a lot about Stack stuff and NFTs. My handle is MCUEVASM, M Cuevas M. My last name in there. And Mintery.co if you're interested in that program. Stacks.org is the foundation where I work and where we're running this program out of. A lot of great folks there that I didn't get to give shout outs today too, but we all sort of Discord as well. If you want to get really close with the team and really be part of the fam, I'd invite you there as well.
And final question. I'm just going to throw this one in.
Okay.
Tell us one thing about like the Stacks Foundation team or about the Stacks community that most people don't know.
Ooh, that's a good question. People not know. I think there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that people don't know, just about how much work goes in behind the scenes on partnerships that like the team is developing to be listed on things like DApp Radar or even exchanges. Like I think folks assume all that stuff maybe just happens, and some of it starts organically, but certainly folks on the team and throughout the ecosystem sort of make sure to close those things. What's something like quirky though? I feel like that's where your question was more headed. Maybe people know this, maybe people don't. this is less about the Stacks Foundation and maybe more about the genesis of the project. The Neil Stevenson has played like a large role in the overall culture of the ecosystem, I'd say. If you're not in it, maybe you don't realize that. But Snow Crash, specifically, right? This is the book that coined the term metaverse. It was the company book at Blockstack PBC, which did the original token sale, and a lot of folks have read it. A lot of folks in the community really resonate with that. So him and his themes are something that come up a lot that maybe it's not obvious on the surface, but that definitely inspire and drive kind of the ethos.
And you've read it, right?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how he coined the metaverse as this like strange corporate in like existence, right? Virtual existence. And then Facebook comes along here in 2021 and just trying to like hold the narrative back to them as like, hey everybody, we're your like friendly metaverse dealer. Come hang out with us. We're totally okay and not gonna steal all your information.
Yeah, it blows my mind that anyone would trust Facebook with building their metaverse, given the track record there. I've tweeted about this a number of times. It's just interesting to me, but the nice part is there's lots of decentralized alternatives rising up, and people will have, I think, infinite choice when it comes to metaverses. I hope Stacks and Bitcoin like are kind of the layer that honestly binds those together. If you think about how this all emerges, if it's a patchwork of different metaverses that are for different purposes and from different people, companies, etc., you're going to need a way that the things you own and are useful in those worlds can travel with you. And so there's a lot of interchain, multi-chain world type things. We're very pro bridges. We're very pro interoperability, however that happens. And having that nice layer of like Stack sitting on top of Bitcoin and then can connect all these different worlds. That's sort of how I hope this will all play out, such that if there is a bad player, everyone can just leave and they still own their stuff, hopefully. We'll see a bunch of folks leaving the Facebook metaverse just naked and afraid because Facebook took all their stuff.
We're going to wrap up in a minute, but there's this amazing movie called The Congress, which probably none of you have watched, but it has Robin Wright in it, who I really love. Okay. And to me, it's the precursor of the metaverse, where she's a actress who's offered to give her mind and body to the property of the thing in itself.
Very Black Mirror.
Exactly. So she gives over her mind and body rights to the metaverse, but then goes into it later and it gets really weird and really trippy.
Okay.
It's quite dark, very Black Mirror-ish, but I highly recommend it. Yeah. The Stacks team will probably like it a lot. For the first hour, you're going to be going, what WTF is actually happening here? But then as time goes on, you go into a deeper assessment of what am I actually watching and what's going on here. And then you're like, oh man, this is really dark and kind of sad. But yeah, let's wrap it there. Mitchell, thanks so much for coming on. Alex, I think you got your job back.
Nailed it.
Alex owes me yet another one.
Well, that's going to wrap it for this week. Alex, you're Mr. Ibida. Did I say that right? Ibida?
You did.
Mr. Ibida on Twitter. And I'm at Traders Insight, traders_insight. You can find me there. Thanks so much, everyone. Alex, Mitchell.
Thanks, Mitchell.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'll come back anytime. Maybe 3 months when these Mintery projects are coming out. We'll have lots of cool NFTs to kind of dig deep into and see what they've done, and hopefully you guys will have your hands on a lot of them too.
It'd be nice to have a roundtable with all the people that go through the project to talk about what they're actually doing and present it. So
listen, we might have you on again before that. Okay. For those of you that are still watching, here's your alpha leak. We'll have some announcements with you guys, I'm sure, in the next month or so. So
I've heard rumors.
Stay tuned, everyone.
Amazing. Well, thank you everybody for tuning into this episode of Okcoin Live, and we'll see you for the next show.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.